Umar radiallahu anhu wakes up in the morning one day. He gets up and he starts waking up the Muslims for Salat al-Fajr. They all come to the mosque and he begins his prayer. While he's in his prayer, one of the slaves, the Jewish slaves, who made a specific double-edged knife specifically for Umar radiallahu anhu, goes through the lines as the Muslims are praying and he stabs Umar several times. So much so that Umar radiallahu anhu, when he dropped to the floor, he kept praying when he was stabbed. When he finally dropped to the floor, the Muslims got him milk to drink. When he would drink it in his mouth, it would come out of his stomach, come out of the holes in his body. And this is when they knew he would die. So Umar radiallahu anhu, throughout his entire life, everything that he had done, now he's on the floor and he's dying. He goes unconscious. He wakes up. You know what he asks? He asks, have I prayed the Fajr prayer? They tell him, no ya Umar, and he faints. He wakes up again. Have I prayed the Fajr prayer? No ya Umar, and he faints. He wakes up again. Have I prayed the Fajr prayer? They go, no ya Umar, you dropped. His son brings a pillow to put under his head. He goes, remove that pillow from under my head and put my head in the dirt. Maybe Allah will see my head in the dirt and have mercy on me. Because he missed one prayer. Because he missed one prayer. And it wasn't even his fault. He was in the actual prayer. Look at his status. He was already guaranteed paradise. Yeah, look how worried he was that he missed one prayer.
In this condition he says, bring me water so I can make wudu. And then he tells his son, stand me up. You want to stand up when you're in this position? Come on man, listen to me, stand me up. I don't want to pray when I'm lying down. And when they sat him up, and when they helped him get up, the narration says that, and he let out this cry of pain, and they laid him back down, and he prayed lying down. Now after Umar satisfied his soul and his iman and completing Salat al-Fajr, then he asks the question that we would expect him to ask the first thing. He says, who killed me? So they tell him, the slave of Mughira. And he says, you mean the fire worshipper Abu Lu'lu'? They say, yes, it was Abu Lu'lu' al-Majusi, he was a non-Muslim. And you know what Umar says? He says, Alhamdulillah, that Allah has not made my death at the hands of a man who has even made one sajda to Allah, by which, by virtue of just making one prostration to Allah, he can argue against me to Allah on the Day of Judgment. SubhanAllah. He then tells his son, go to al-Mu'mineen Aisha. Tell her that Umar radiallahu anhu sends his salam to you. And he says, don't say the leader of the believers, Amir al-Mu'mineen. Because today I am no longer the leader of the believers. Send her salam and ask her permission that Umar is requesting he can be buried with his two companions, the Prophet ﷺ and Abu Bakr. When Abdullah went to Aisha, he found her crying. At the state of Umar, she was crying out of sadness for the state of Umar. So he waited until finally he came and said salam and gave the message. Now when he came back, Aisha says to Abdullah anhu, she says that I was saving this place for myself, so I could be buried next to my husband, the Prophet of Allah, Muhammad ﷺ, and buried next to my father, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. But today, I will give preference to Umar over myself, anhu. I will allow him to be buried there. Now when Abdullah comes back to Umar anhu, Umar says, sit me up, sit me up. He wanted to get the news in a state that he was ready. He says, there is nothing more important to me. Good news, oh my father, Aisha has accepted your request. Now look at Umar, this is a gentleman, brothers and sisters. He says to his son, after I die, take my body to her house, to her room, and don't enter. And again send salam, and say Umar is sending salam to you, O Aisha. And Umar again is requesting permission to be buried in this room. You know why he said that? Because he knew the emotions of Aisha and all the Sahaba were such that Aisha would, maybe out of shyness to Umar and out of his condition, this is a man, brothers. And you know what Aisha says? Yes, she gives him preference and he's buried there. And you know Umar, he died when he was 63 years old. You know how old Abu Bakr was when he died? 63 years old. You know how old the Prophet ﷺ was when he died? 63 years old. It was as if Umar and Abu Bakr anhuma were created to live with the Prophet ﷺ and die with the Prophet ﷺ and be buried next to the Prophet ﷺ.